Why yes, I did make this intro. Thank you for noticing. It sucks. Fuck you. KeemStar is easily one of the most disliked content creators in the whole of YouTube, and for good reason. From accusing Leafy of sub-botting without any evidence.
One of my best friends on YouTube at the time was Leafy is Here, and I ended up calling him to talk to him about it, and he suggested that he knew some site where I could bot the likes to make the dislikes not look as bad.
To sicking his fans on an innocent old man whom he accused of being a pedophile.
I'm not calling him. I'm not telling him my phone number. I don't want that guy to bother me no matter what. I don't want his money. I don't want his apology.
To bringing Basherverse to a complete mental breakdown.
And KeemStar just keeps freaking, it's just constant barrage. Like, all my videos are like, I've been up for so long and I'm so stressed right now, and it's just...
KeemStar has been the final boss of the YouTube community for quite some time now, and if you need any more proof as to why, just check out the thousands of exposed videos talking about him. But despite all the hate that he rightfully gets, he's managed to hold a steady following and is one of the most influential people in the commentary community, if not on the entire platform. And while he may have you believe it's due to the entertainment value he brings with him to Drama Alert, I wholeheartedly disagree. Because while his escapades on Drama Alert may be what got him the majority of his audience, and certainly his reputation, I don't feel like it's what's giving him his staying power. You see, Drama Alert as a show, I don't think is very engaging. KeemStar has the same stupid reactions he breaks out.
I tweeted out this, responded with this, and said this about Toby. They're being Nazis again!
Talks in the same awkward, overblown Telecaster dialect.
Known as JMX. Apparently, there's a JMX and his girlfriend sex tape that's been leaked.
And usually brings up mundane, uninteresting stories that come from Twitter.
Streamer Shibub tweeted out, banned on Twitter. Jack tweeted out, Rice Gum tweeted out, Colossal's Crazy tweeted out.
Now, granted, it's more interesting than the monotone alternative, but still. In terms of entertainment value, your interest will probably only be piqued if it's something you don't know about someone you're interested in. I think the real draw comes when KeemStar himself is involved in the drama that he's reporting on. And I think that realization, in and of itself, is a driving force behind everything that KeemStar does as an entertainer. KeemStar has basically become drama personified. This is why he gets discussed so often by commentary channels. He has become a very good catalyst for conversation, not just in bringing stories to the public, but also in putting himself in them. Take, for example, one of his most recent Twitter arguments with one of his longtime friends, Sky Williams. If you're unfamiliar with the argument, after the bombing at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, Sky Williams allegedly posted several replies to Ariana's comment, which said, "Broken from the bottom of my heart, I am so sorry, I don't have words."
This bombing thing happens, you respond to Ariana's tweet like 5 or 6 times, making sure you got the top reply.
Now, I say allegedly because I looked through the replies to that tweet and I didn't see anything from Sky, so maybe he deleted them due to backlash, I'm not really sure, but he doesn't seem to be denying the claim, and he did post a video at Ariana Grande saying,
"Right now, I'm sure that many of you are scared and confused, as you have every right to be. All of you are what makes her. You are all a literal piece of her soul, of her heart. And right now, her heart is broken."
So we'll move forward based on the assertion that he did make several replies to her initial tweet. But anyway, Sky replied to Ariana Grande several times, and KeemStar called him out, saying, "Dear at Sky Williams, how do you go from never mentioning at Ariana Grande to becoming the self-proclaimed leader of her fan club in 12 hours? Which has the obvious implication that Sky is trying to use this tragedy as a way to get more exposure, and 2 days later, KeemStar says as much in a series of videos directed at Sky.
Part 2. Okay, so once people started noticing that Sky Williams was like kind of pulling a fucking stunt here to gain followers off of a goddamn bombing.
Now, this conflict is important for a lot of reasons, and we'll discuss it a bit later in the video, but for now, it's important in the creation of a situation between KeemStar and Sky Williams. Whether or not you agree with KeemStar's accusations, you can't deny that this is a situation that didn't really have anything to do with KeemStar until he inserted himself in and called Sky out. Now, to be fair, this is just KeemStar voicing an opinion that Sky could have denied and taken less seriously than he did. And even though the accusation is a pretty heavy one, this is a drama that Sky could have stepped out of. but it's still a situation where KeemStar involved himself in a drama by asserting his opinion in an accusatory way. This example also draws parallels to another recent situation between KeemStar and NoFuckers. In this instance, KeemStar shared an opinion on NoFuckers' content, saying, "Your pathetic attempt to make a 10-minute video has caused your content to be extremely boring at NoFuckers. You are losing fans legit." And like Sky Williams, NoFuckers could have ignored this comment or said something along the lines of, "That's your opinion," but he didn't. He engaged in the argument, causing another drama situation between KeemStar and NoFuckers, which caused a stir in the commentary community based on an opinion shared by KeemStar. Now, the argument for KeemStar here writes itself. KeemStar is more than within his right to share any opinion that he wants on his Twitter and or YouTube channel. Obviously, no one is going to contest this. But the point I'm trying to make by bringing it up is that it's a win-win for KeemStar because, I think for most people, his show is at its most interesting when he's involved in the drama. And what's the best way to get involved in that drama? By calling out people and creating it himself. And to that you may say, well, KeemStar doesn't know that he's going to be involved in this big drama. And you're right, he can make a claim against someone and they could refuse the bait by ignoring him or just a short denial of the accusation. But you can't say that he's not trying to create this drama because he was caught red-handed in the attempt. Back in 2016, KeemStar made this Twitter video on Zoe Berger.
If a guy YouTuber in his 20s sends his nudes to his children fans, he's a pedo. If Zoe Berger sends her nudes to her children fans, it's different? Why is it different?
This was presumably an attempt by KeemStar to start up some form of conflict with Zoe Berger. He didn't know how Zoe would react, and when the conflict came to a head on Baited Podcast episode 13, he had this to say about it.
And me bringing up the question of whether or not you are a pedo was because
was
at
genius.
the time, there was nothing going on, and it's my job to be an entertainer. And
So KeemStar admitted to starting the drama for the sole sake of entertainment, and by this admission, it's pretty safe to assume that this is hardly an isolated incident. I would have to assume that this is a practice that KeemStar takes up quite often, anytime that he deems YouTube to be dead. So when KeemStar makes an accusation, such as the one he lodged at Sky Williams the other day, regardless of the result, be it conflicting or peaceful, it's a win-win. If it's a conflict, then great. More to talk about on Drama Alert. If it's peaceful, no harm, no foul. And while it may sound like I'm trying to make this seem like it's a bad thing, it's actually why KeemStar is such an interesting person to talk about. KeemStar is someone that's willing to make that initial accusation, and he's actually someone with a platform that supports him to do so. And since he's willing to make that initial accusation or give his unbridled opinion, it can be something that breaks the glass for everyone else to find something to talk about in the commentary community to either agree or disagree with his claims, and thus, he's a good catalyst for conversation. Sometimes because the evidence he brings forth is compelling, but other times because his accusation is one made on the basis of opinion. And while this is great for people on the outside looking in who probably aren't going to have any interaction with KeemStar like myself, from the perspective of people he's accusing, they will undoubtedly resent him or steer clear of him. And to be honest, it'd be hard for me to blame those who did. Which leads me back to Sky Williams. Now, from what I can gather, Sky Williams was one of KeemStar's best YouTube friends. He was talked about on the Baited Podcast.
let me give you an example. Sky Williams, I like him. I support him. I consider me and Sky Williams friends. All right.
And when the original cast of Baited had their separation, and Tommy C was asked of KeemStar's inability to keep friends, Tommy had this to say.
I think that all of the relationships Keem has with anyone are all just business relationships. I think he's incapable of having a real friendship with a real human being.
I wonder. I know Sky Williams and him love each other.
Now, going back to the accusation, you have to see that from KeemStar's side, this accusation is not provable unless Sky breaks down with a confirmation, which, even if he's guilty, is unlikely. But from Sky's side, there's even less ways to show that he wasn't just moved by the situation, as I believe is his defense. KeemStar makes this claim on the basis of his opinion of what Sky was thinking, which is unprovable. And even by denial of the accusation, the thought is still placed in the heads of KeemStar's fans that this was Sky's intention. And in that way, KeemStar has drawn his final conclusions for the situation with only having circumstantial evidence, such as Sky gained subscribers in the following days after the replies, ergo, he must have planned for this to work out in that way. And even though Sky seems to vigorously deny the accusation,
that's all I said publicly. Then he jumps in my fucking DMs, is like, are you serious? And I responded, yeah, I'm serious.
This just results in KeemStar not believing him even harder, and eventually making 3 Twitter videos on it. So if KeemStar publicly accused one of his best online friends of trying to profit off a tragedy, regardless of whether you think it's true or not, it's hard to fault anyone for having some level of distrust or distaste for him. And if you agree that Sky was indeed trying to profit off the tragedy, you may say, well, they can still be friends with KeemStar and just don't do shady stuff. But if you remember back to the ending of the original Baited, KeemStar came to the public claiming that Colossal was trying to ruin the podcast by being greedy. And you can argue that maybe Colossal was being greedy. We don't really know how the conversation between the two went. By what we know of Colossal, it seems unlikely to me that he was, but we can't know that for sure. But even if you believe that, it wasn't a conversation that was held publicly, and yet KeemStar still brought it to the public to make a public accusation based only out of his opinion with no supporting evidence, which is something that he does regularly. So then what's the case for KeemStar? Well, while he may be someone you don't exactly want to have dealings with if you're a bigger YouTuber, because chances are if you do, he's accusing you of something or giving you an opinion about how he dislikes your content or something that you're doing. For everyone else, he can be a good conversation starter, and he's someone who's not afraid to tell it to you as he sees it, even if how he sees it can be very binary. Anyways, that's the video, guys. Like it, don't like it, let me know. I find KeemStar to be a very interesting figure on YouTube. He's someone who's managed to stay relevant and get talked about so often, and in this video I outline some of the reasons why I think that is. Now, I'm not arguing to say whether or not he's a good person. To me, he seems like a dick for the most part, and his track record speaks for itself. And to be honest, I don't even find him that entertaining from a traditional sense. However, that doesn't mean that he doesn't bring up some very interesting things to talk about, and even though I didn't talk about it here, he has shown that he does really care about the platform as a whole, such as with the whole #ThankYouCoke debacle, which didn't work out the way that he was planning, obviously, but the sentiment was still something that I think resonated with people who enjoy this platform. And these are the things that I think can make KeemStar a good thing for YouTube, depending on who you're asking. But yeah, basic summary of the video, I think KeemStar is someone who can bring up very interesting talking points via his accusations and or his bold opinions, but I don't know if I'd be friends with him because he seems like someone who would sooner publicly criticize you with little to no evidence of his opinion, even if you were hypothetically his friend. But I could be wrong, who knows. Shark pride for life, bruh.